I think that the term UX UI is just useless, and honestly, it just pisses me off that people use it. And in this video, I'm going to try to convince you to stop using this term because it's just confusing and it's not helping you or anybody else understand what do you do. Now, I want to explain why. What is UX UI? User experience, user interface. As we all know, everything has a user experience. This bottle has a user experience. My fridge has a user experience. And what is user interface? Well, everything is a user interface. This keyboard is a user interface. This microphone and this thing is a user interface. This, how do you call this thing where you open the bottle? This thing is interface for opening the bottle. So what do you actually do when you say, I'm a user UX UI designer? Now, obviously, we're all talking a little bit probably about digital stuff. However, there's a lot of stuff that's digital. There's web design. Websites require certain skills and certain processes to design websites. On the other hand, we have apps either on our phone, mobile apps, or apps that we're using online, like Google. Google is an app, Gmail is an app. These are apps. They are completely different in terms of design process, in terms of the skills and understanding that you need to do from designing websites. So these are completely different professions. We have web design on the one hand and then product design on the other hand. Now, they are so separate that by putting these two things together under one umbrella of UX UI, you're just confusing everybody else, because if you're trying to get a job and the title of that job is UX UI, you don't even know what kind of skill set you need to do in this job, or you don't even know what you're going to be doing on this job. And I want to show you. So here's Dribbble, and I want to go into Dribbble's job board, and I want to let's see what roles are called, right? So first of all, I'm just going to do a quick scan, which is lead designer, UX UI for sports car, brand web designer, product designer, graphic designer, principal designer, product designer. There's not a lot of UX UI designers anymore, right? Senior UI designer, web designer. I think here you can already see as a trend, and we're going to click these in a second to see what they mean. But you can already see that a lot of times when they will say UX UI, they will actually say, hey, this is a web designer, and this is actually a product designer. And in most of them, they'll just say a product designer or a graphic designer, right? Or a whatever, mid-level designer. They're not, this term UX UI is no longer that popular, right? But sometimes we can see this, and let's open up this UX UI designer and see what it means. And let's go to this car company at the beginning and see what does this mean. So blah, blah, blah about this role. Let's see what you will do here. So, wow. What is in this role? We're looking for a UX UI designer that can help get rid of boring PDFs and PowerPoints to help salespeople. Everybody's different, but probably applies to you. You create and passionate about stunning product and visual design. Okay, so this is mostly product design, right? Experience as a UX designer, also strong background in visual design. And deliver top-notch web pages. So this is basically both of them. This is both. They want you to become both a web designer and a product designer, which I have to say is not very common because, as I said, these are two very different skills. Let's see what this one does. UX UI for sports car. Responsibilities, create user-centered design and understanding business requirements, but it doesn't say for what, right? Develop personas, user stories, create user flows, wireframing, prototyping, design accessibility. It does sound like product design based on this, but it doesn't say. It doesn't really say. Besides, you need to know Figma and you need to know Webflow, but not required. I don't know. So I don't know what is required for this job. Let's see. Let's check out another one. So this one is basically obviously a web designer, and this is product design. Now, for those of you who are not really sure why I think that web design and product design are so different, let me dive in a little bit about that. Product design, which is designing of apps, require you to understand the flows of the app, getting user to do something on an app. A lot of times they would have to understand the business model behind this, whether this is a software as a service, or you're trying to get somebody to, how does this work? How does this app makes money? And this role is a lot of times very, very logical. Product designers have a lot of understanding of how the tech work, what is possible in terms of technology, and how to get people to use the app in a very, very easy way. It's very, very kind of like, I would say left brain side role. Whereas on web design is a much more, in a sense, creative role, because you have to communicate a story, a lot of times using visuals, illustrations, icon, and there's a lot of storytelling that goes into web design that doesn't necessarily go with, in product design, a lot of times it's a lot more functional. And again, of course, web design is functional as well, but it has a lot more kind of like creative storytelling side to it. And a lot of times they would work on different technologies, especially if you're designing mobile apps. Those are completely different technologies than you would use for building a website. The development tools might be different. So these are completely different roles. So when you are looking for a job and you're thinking, what do I need to learn to become a UX UI designer? That can be very, very confusing, because you might not sure which of these skills you need to specialize in. Now, I want to show you another example, and this is an annoying one, right? Because Behance, while Dribbble is kind of like understanding that the term UX UI is no longer that relevant, and you can see here in their categories, they have just web design and product design. They don't even have anything that's called UX UI here. So I feel like Dribbble is with me. They understand this term is useless. Behance, they're a little bit behind, and they do have a term that's called UX UI. And when we're looking into this, you can see that we're seeing here apps, I don't know, actually physical UI for things, a lot of apps, but then randomly you also have here like websites. Yeah, you can see some websites here as well. So again, they have confused these two very separate disciplines together under one category, and I feel this is very, very confusing and annoying, and it really doesn't help people to understand how to build the skills and get into the right role for them. I don't know if you're annoyed about this as much as me, but please let me know in the comment below what you think about this term, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.